Hi, I'm Lisa Plaggemier, Chief Strategist at MediaPro. We're a security and privacy training and awareness company. We create engaging training for your employees. I'm also on the board of the National Cybersecurity Alliance. So my background is actually in sales and marketing, but I ran a security training and awareness program for a number of years for a large technology company. So when it comes to making decisions, we think we're all like this guy. Logical, rational, we wish our employees were more like this guy. We just give them facts and they'll just do what they're supposed to do, right? We think we're like this guy when we're creating company policies and communicating those to employees. Very rational, just give people the facts. But the reality is we're all a little more like this guy. Moving fast, making unconscious decisions. Homer's pretty intuitive, he does what he feels, he doesn't really think things through. So the reality is that most of our decisions are in our unconscious. They're made unconsciously, and 90% of our decision making is unconscious. I have a famous quote here that I love from the advertising guru Seth Godin. People are irrational and they usually make decisions that have nothing to do with facts. And yet we spend most of our time improving our facts and very little concern with the rest. So if you've worked with human beings for any length of time, you know that just giving people facts is not enough to compel them to change their behavior. Here's a quote from a course on brain and behavioral science. We often like to think that we're like Mr. Spock and we're very rational and logical, but we're not. And if you really want to reach people, if you want to communicate with them, if you want to persuade them, you need to figure out how to talk to the unconscious part of their mind. So how in the world do we talk to the unconscious part of the mind? Well, we do it through emotions. This is a thing called Plutchik's wheel of emotion. Robert Plutchik was a psychologist. He proposes this idea that there are 8 basic emotions: joy, trust, fear, surprise, sadness, anticipation, anger, and disgust. And each one has a polar opposite. So that, for example, joy is the opposite of sadness. All other emotions are actually a combination of these emotions. So, for example, love is a combination of joy and trust, 2 primary emotions. So kind of like all colors are based on primary colors, the idea here is that all emotions are built on those 8 basic emotions. And then there's also an idea here of intensity of emotions from strong to weak. And that adds to the diverse amount of emotions we can feel. So I picked 2 examples because I think they apply to security awareness and training. Fear goes through timidity to terror. So when I think about all the fear that's used in a lot of security training, FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, if that's creating terror in people, then I'm just not a big fan of scaring people that much and literally being frozen. Terror tends to freeze people or cause them to disengage. And timidity is kind of the enemy of education. Education should be empowering. On the other hand, anticipation goes from interest to vigilance. And I think that's closer to our goal. We're trying to inspire people to be vigilant in protecting our businesses. So we want to leverage things like anticipation, get people interested and eventually engaged to be vigilant. I want to talk about another emotion I think we should be leveraging in security training and awareness, and that's optimism. There's a creative director that I've worked with for a number of years since I've been running training and awareness programs. And he and I just finished working on some new training content at MediaPro. And he said to me during that project, Lisa, since I've been working with you and I've learned all about this security stuff, I've changed some of my habits and I don't worry as much anymore. I have a peace of mind. I started using the password manager and other things, and now I'm not as concerned and worried about it as I used to be. So I looked at this wheel and thought about that. And at the very top, you'll see serenity in yellow, and adjacent to serenity in orange is interest, and between serenity and interest is optimism. So my advice for you today is, rather than using fear in training people to help to better secure your business using any sort of FUD, I suggest that you try positivity and optimism and emphasize the good things that will result in better securing your business, like peace of mind, business growth, empowerment of your employees. I don't recommend using pictures of hackers in hoodies or scary hands reaching through the screen or binary floating in the air or skulls and crossbones. Fear is a very short-term attention getter. If you want your employees to rally around protecting your organization, teach them best practices. There's plenty of information available on StaySafeOnline.org. but do it in a way that's positive and interesting and inspires them to change instead of trying to scare them into changing. And I thank you for your time.